All right, so hello and welcome to Math 126, which is applied statistics for the winter 2019 session. My name is Mike Deal, and I will be your professor and guide through this semester in statistics. And this intro video is, as the name suggests, sort of an introduction to the course. I'll get you sort of all set up with everything that you need for in terms of the homework system and the textbook and all that good stuff. So after completing this video, you should be all set to begin the course. So this is obviously our Canvas page that you're looking at right now. Which is where you're watching this video, so that means you do know how to get here. Of course, we will use Canvas as sort of as our main hub for all material, so most of the things you need for the course are somewhere here on our Canvas page. So I'm going to show you a couple things. First is maybe the syllabus for the course, which is the first thing that's posted here. So I'm just going to sort of quickly go through that and detail some things in there. And then beyond that, I'll give you a little tour of what's on our Canvas site. And then lastly, our textbook and homework system, and online homework system that we're going to be using. So if you want, you don't have to, but you can click on this syllabus here and follow along with me if you want. So here's the syllabus for our course. This is applied statistics, but it's just, it's a general introduction to statistics course. The dates for our course are January 3rd through January 25th, which is the final day of the winter term semester, I guess, or intersession. So these will be the dates that the course sort of is formally running. You, of course, may begin the course early, which hopefully you're watching this video sometime before January 3rd, and are starting the course much earlier than that. But the course does conclude. I think the final exam is due on the 24th. So since I will need to have your grades in by the 25th. So that's that's our timeline. This is me here. I'm a full-time professor in the math and computer science department in the day school. So I am sort of around, but not really. For this intersession, I'm traveling for quite a bit of the break. The day school doesn't start up again until the 28th of January, so I'm not really on campus a whole lot in the intersession. So the best way to get a hold of me is just to please, send me an email, and I should be able to hopefully reply reasonably quickly if you have any questions about anything. If you do happen to be in the Beverly area and are around, there's an off chance that I may be on campus, but I should be able to answer most of your questions via email. This course description here and topical outline below are pretty standard for any typical introductory course in statistics. If some of these terms might sound familiar, but if most of them don't sound familiar, that's totally fine. You will know what hopefully all of these things mean by the end of the course. And I should say, I guess I don't have any line for it here, but there's no prerequisite for the course. There's no requirement that you've taken something or other in your past. It is a math course, obviously, and so there's a general expectation that you have some math knowledge from your previous schooling, maybe hopefully either recent or if it's been a while. But nothing fancy. We won't really even be using algebra, and certainly nothing above that. But just general knowledge of of numbers and logic. So hopefully everybody should be okay in terms of that department. We won't really be doing even a whole lot of computation because we will be using Excel to do pretty much all of the heavy lifting in terms of the mathy stuff. So hopefully it shouldn't be too much of an impediment. But nonetheless, yes, it is a math course. So I will just go ahead and acknowledge right up front that many people generally contact me and say, well, I've always been bad at math, so I'm probably going to be bad at this class, which I really try to dissuade you from thinking on day one or day zero, if you haven't even really began the class yet, try to push that sort of aside. I think in general, the people who reach out and really sort of firmly believe that they are bad at math or are going to be bad at this course are bad at this course. Um, and it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I'd really encourage you to try to sort of say, well, maybe in the past I've had issues with this, but I'm going to sort of try to turn over a new leaf and give it a whole new try. Um, and hopefully it will be better. If you've had bad experiences, hopefully this will be better than things from your past. Anyway, so there's all the topical stuff. Um, we will be using an ebook bundled with an online homework system for the course. The title of the book is Elementary Statistics, um, and this is bundled into a system called My Stat Lab, which is where you're going to go to both access the ebook and also to complete all of the homework assignments for the course. So I'll show you what My Stat Lab looks like, and I'll indicate how you can sign up for this and all that good stuff. Um, aside from access to these characters, you will also, what other things might you want to have or need? You will need access to Microsoft Excel installed on some computer that you have or have access to regularly. Um, we're going to use it to do all of our computations and calculations, and I will show you how to do everything that you need for the course in Excel. Now, if you do, kind of want to go off on your own, you can do most of the things that we'll do in this course in other ways, I guess. So one thing, there are other spreadsheet softwares, in particular on a Mac or Apple product. There's Numbers, I believe, is the name of the app. More or less does most of this stuff. Now, I gotta say, if you choose to try to use some other software or do some, you're kind of on your own. Okay, I don't know how to do everything in those other formats. So if you want to do that, that's all right. But you're gonna have to kind of mostly figure things out on your own in that case. Um, Occasionally, a person decides they're going to really go it alone with no technology and just sort of use a calculator. Again, I will not be showing you how to do most of the things with a calculator, and formulas. Yes, you could do it those ways, but again, you're on your own if that's kind of your choice. So it is my strong recommendation that you instead do everything in Excel, because it makes everything a million times easier. And Excel is a pretty standard product in most workplaces and workforces, so it's nice to get to know it a little bit. If you've never used Excel, it's not too tough to pick up. Um, so please make sure you do have regular access to Excel. The only caveat I'll say is that you need it on a computer or a laptop. You can't the Excel I guess app, more or less, that you can buy for an iPad or something like that doesn't work, or you can't do all the same functionalities. So don't get it for an iPad. Um, the other version, or the other kind of Excel that doesn't work, is there's an online Excel, which I assume you pay is probably a cheaper fee to have access to, basically a website that kind of does Excel type things for you. That also doesn't work for all of the stuff that we need. So don't do either of those purchasing options. Instead, purchase the real Excel for, again, a computer or a laptop, as opposed to some other format. Hopefully you have it on maybe a computer at home already or at work. Libraries of any sort, the Endicott College Library, and certainly probably many local libraries even, all have Excel, and it doesn't really matter what version. It can be an Excel from even 10 years ago, and that has all the stuff that we need in there. So do yourself a favor and get access to that. If you do have to purchase access, I don't know, I think it's maybe about $100 or so to purchase just Excel. So there's that. And then in terms of anything else, I think a notebook, just, sort of a regular old paper notebook is actually really useful for the course. You will be watching lecture videos that I've made. And I would say, a good thing to do is to sort of take notes like you would if you were in an in-person regular class. So just any sort of notebook and or paper is good for that. I would also say that, of course, you're going to be obviously doing lots of math problems, and even though we're going to use Excel a lot, there is still a lot of paper and pencil work to be done to solve homework problems and exam questions and things like that. So do have that sort of handy. And the last thing you might want is a just sort of a simple calculator, or maybe you can even just use one on your phone or something like that. As there will be times where we want to do, what's the square root of 20 or something like that. And, just a regular old calculator is useful for that. You could do it in Excel, but it's kind of overkill. So if you have a calculator, like I said, or probably one on your phone is plenty for that. Okay, so that's the sort of materials. Like I said, the lectures for the course are going to be on Canvas, and these are just lectures kind of like you're watching right now, which is just me talking over usually PowerPoint slides, and sort of showing you obviously all the material, showing you how to do things in Excel, and so on and so on. For the most part, that's all you're really going to be responsible for in terms of the sort of lecture or the learning portion of the course. The very first week, or the very first, I should say, assignment, I am going to have you read the ebook rather than watching videos like this, just because it's a really easy introductory kind of thing that's probably better for you to take half an hour and just read about rather than watching videos. But for the entire rest of the course, then, you don't really need to use the ebook. You can just watch these videos on Canvas that I've made that, are based on the material, obviously, that's in the book. So I should say, if it was, it's really not that much cheaper to just buy the homework access, which is why it's bundled in with the textbook. It costs like $5 more to get access to the textbook. So, so we figured might as well do that. And I should say, as I said here, right, the textbook has lots and lots of extra stuff in there, I guess I'll say. You're welcome to use that. You paid for it, so you're welcome to do. There's lots and lots of extra problems, and they have like sample tests and all kinds of stuff in there. So you're welcome to do those things if you want for extra help. But I will show you that there are only a handful of things in there that you're actually sort of required to do that you're getting credit for. So use the resource as much as you want. But also don't get freaked out if you're like, am I supposed to be doing all these, 20,000 things that pop up? No, but you're welcome to do them if you want. Your grade, of course, in the class is important. This is, of course, a very short, accelerated course, so we obviously don't have a whole lot of time to do a whole bunch of assessments. So we will have 2 exams. We'll have a midterm exam and a final exam, and the midterm will be on the first half of the course, and the final will be mostly on the second half material, so it won't be super cumulative, although to be honest, the material for the course is pretty cumulative, so it sort of is, but and that's 3/4 of your grade, and then the other 1/4 of your grade comes from the homework assignments that you're going to be completing. So it's you get a decent amount of credit for the homework, but largely your exam performance is going to mostly determine your grade in the course. As I mentioned for homework, these assignments, and they're actually already all created and posted in my stat lab. There's a variety of kinds of questions. Some of them are sort of multiple choice or fill in the blank kinds of things. Others are, asking you to do a math problem, in which case you're going to do a computation and then enter your sort of numerical answer. If the homework system, and I'll show you this over there, does give you some feedback, which sometimes is helpful, to be honest. Sometimes the feedback it gives you is not super helpful. But it does let you sort of do second chances, and in fact, you can actually keep redoing homework problems until you get them right, which is, I think, a nice feature because it lets you, sort of persist and eventually, hopefully, figure out what it is that you might have been doing wrong. Like I said, there are lots of other things that you're going to see in the homework in my stat lab that you don't have to worry about. But again, I'll show you exactly what are the things that you do. There are due dates for the homework assignments that are posted both in Canvas and in my stat lab. So you do need to complete the homework on time. There is a penalty if you do any work late. And really, just by the nature of this course, there's an assignment due like almost every other day or every couple of days anyway. So you really, I mean, getting behind is just pretty much not an option when the course is going to be moving this quickly. So you do want to stay on top of the due dates. And again, please do allow yourself plenty of time, though, to do these things. The old, well, my Wi-Fi went out as I was trying to do the homework at the last minute, so can I have an extension? The answer is always going to be no. There are no extensions for any material in the course whatsoever. Um, and that's because the entire course is posted and active right now. And so you can start early. You can finish the whole course before it even starts if you really want to. So there are no extensions whatsoever. There are exams, as I mentioned, 2 exams. You're going to take these in Canvas. Hopefully, you've maybe taken a Canvas course or Canvas-based course before. But if you haven't, doing exams in Canvas is pretty self-explanatory. You'll sort of load and sort of start the exam. They are timed exams, so you will have a fixed amount of time from the time you start the exam, and then it'll sort of shut you off once your time expires. So you do have to do it sort of all in one sitting. You can't do it like for 20 minutes and then come back the next day and do the next 20 minutes. You can't do that since it's an exam. Um, but uh, but it's pretty, it's pretty reasonable. You just sort of want to kind of have all your materials in front of you when you go to take the exam. Obviously you want to have Excel ready and have all of your notes ready. But you can decide when you want to take it. Everybody doesn't have to take it on a specific date at a specific time. But again, there are due dates for the exams as well. So as long as you complete it before those due dates, you're fine. The only other thing I'll just point out is right. Obviously, the nature of this course is that it is an online accelerated course. In the traditional semester, this is a 15-week course, and this is condensed for us down to just a 3-week window. So as you might imagine, means you will have to do an awful lot of work in a very short amount of time. If you're really only doing work in the 3-week window of the semester, which is basically January, it will work out to be somewhere around 30 hours a week, maybe even in some weeks more like 40 hours, which sounds like a full-time job. But then again, this is an entire course in 3 weeks. So you will need to dedicate an awful lot of time to this course. So if you don't think that that's an option for you, and by all means, I would certainly understand. If you're like, well, let's see, I've got a few hours during the week that I can probably spare, and maybe 5 or 6 hours on the weekend, and that's it. That there's no way you're going to finish all the material for the course. So your 2 options are either to skip the course. The course is offered again in the spring semester in a 8-week format, so which is obviously much more relaxed, paced, and all of that other good stuff. So if you do decide you want to switch, you can probably contact your advisor and switch into the spring section, which I think actually runs like mid-March through mid-May or something like that. So that's one option. Your other option, if you aren't going to have that kind of time in January, is to begin the course now, where hopefully now is sometime in December that you're listening to this video. You can certainly, if you get a jump start on things, and you can do anything you want in the course from right now. You can complete the whole course tomorrow, I guess, if you, well, probably not tomorrow, but you know what I mean. Everything is open and available for you to work on. So you can do this, you can spread the course out over, a 2-month period rather than just waiting for these 3 weeks in January. And I really, really recommend that. I don't think I've had too many students who were able to start the course on, January 4th or whatever our first day is, and complete it all in that 3-week window. I mean, it's tough. I mean, you can do it, but it would not be advisable if you have a job and or other responsibilities. So just think about it, right? And if you have any sort of concerns about it, I would recommend you talk to your advisor to figure out if this is the right thing for you. Okay, and if you do get any sort of extended time testing for exams, that's very easy for me to coordinate here in Canvas. So do have the academic support office and the disability office, have them contact me, and I can make that accommodation for you. So, all right. So I think that's the end of the syllabus business. So here's Canvas one more time. So all of the material is organized into these, I guess, units as I've called them. So let me just sort of quickly scroll down. We've got 3 units, 1, 2, 3. That's all the material for the first half of the course. Then there's a midterm exam and all kinds of info here. And then there's 3 more units, 4, 5, 6, and then a final exam. So it's pretty uniform, I guess. And in any given unit, you'll generally find a few things. These announcements are just sort of, there's not probably a whole lot you have to read here in the announcements. It's mostly just here's some stuff, blah, blah, blah. So maybe you don't really need to look at that. But for each week, you should see that there are video lectures posted. So if you click on any one of those, I'll just click on this one. It takes you to videos, right? And so these would be the lectures that would correspond to the videos for, I think this is Unit 3. There's, in this case, I guess just 2 lecture videos. In some weeks, there's more like 5 or 6, but maybe they're a little bit shorter. I don't know. On average, there's probably about 4 or 5 hours of lectures for every unit. So again, right, you're doing maybe 3 units in a week. So that's, even just in terms of video watching, that might be 10 to 12 hours a week of just watching videos. And then of course doing the homework assignments typically take, again, some of them are shorter and easier, others take more like 5, 6, 7 hours to do. So this is how it sort of adds up very quickly to an awful lot of hours in the course. But anyway, so these videos, as you can see there, maybe you recognize the icon, these are just YouTube videos. So if you hit play, you can play and watch them here if you want. I'll just pause that so I don't have to listen to myself. So you can watch the videos here in Canvas, or just like you probably know, if you click in the lower right-hand corner, you can make this full screen, which maybe is helpful for seeing some things, and or you can also click on this to watch the whole video in YouTube. So however you want to do that, but the videos should hopefully play. Sometimes you have to turn the volume up if you have not fantastic audio output. Sometimes using headphones it can sort of amplify the volume a little bit. So those are the lecture videos. The other things that you typically see in a typical unit, these are slides. These are just the slides that I'm voicing over in the videos. So there's really nothing new here. It's just that some people like having the blank slide, or not blank slides, but the background slides, so that when you watch the videos, I don't know, you could have them printed out or something and take notes on them or whatever you want. So if you want the slides, they're here. And then there's something in each of the units for homework. Now, these aren't really homework assignments. If I click on this, for example, all it does is say, hey, go over to my stat lab and do the homework. So you're not actually completing the homework here in Canvas. Instead, you're going to go over to my stat lab, which I'm going to show you in a second. So that's pretty much what you see in each of these units. And except for, of course, again, the 2 exams that you're going to take, those you will take here in Canvas. So we'll have a midterm exam and we'll have a final exam. Here, I'll just click on midterm exam for a minute. So a couple of things you'll see when you click on either of the exams. It'll sort of give you some advice and some details about what the exam covers, how long you have to complete it. The midterm is 2 hours. I think the final is, I forget if it's 2.5 hours or maybe it's 3 hours. Just some sort of instructions for how to take the quiz and all that other good stuff. The exams are obviously open notes because I can't really stop you from using your notes. So feel free to use whatever you've got from class. And obviously you'll be using Excel to do computation, so you should certainly have that open as well. But do study. So I guess I should pause here for a minute and say one big, regret that a lot of students have in this course is they'll say, oh, I didn't do that well on the exam because I ran out of time, I guess, on the exams because I was looking stuff up to figure out how to do it. And, they were successful at looking stuff up and all of that, but realized that I think the exam has something like 35 questions on it. And if you only have 2 hours, that doesn't really give you a lot of time. That's like 3 or 4 minutes a question. You don't really have time to go rewatch videos, or do a whole exhaustive, let me figure this out. So you do probably, my best advice for the exams is study like you would if it was a paper and pencil exam, and study like you would if it was a um, timed. Well, it is, and it is a timed exam. So do sort of pretend that you're not even going to have your notes in front of you, and I think you'll have much better success with the exams. And then there are practice problems here as well. So I think for both the midterm and the final, if you click on practice exam or practice exam one, and then there's some solutions to these as well. So you could use that sort of as your studying for each of the exams. So I think that's everything I needed to show you on Canvas. So the last thing I'll mention is that this MyStatLab that I keep referring to. So first of all, here on Canvas, the second link, are instructions for how you can sign up for this MyStatLab. If you click on this, it's just a PDF, and it's very easy, simple, step-by-step instructions for how you can sign up for the ebook and the homework system. That's what this MyStatLab is called. I don't remember exactly the cost, but I think it's in the neighborhood of about 110, 100, maybe 120 bucks, somewhere in that neighborhood, which isn't that bad in that that's really the only, it's the homework system and the book and the textbook. So so click on this and you can sign up for those things. When you sign up for MyStatLab, just make sure you use like your name as your name, as opposed to, I don't know, some other. When I look at the course, I'm going to see whatever name you picked to call yourself, basically. So just make sure it's at least at least close to your actual name, sort of on the roster, so that I can say, oh, okay, that's Susie. I mean, you could use nicknames; it's fine. I can figure that part out. But but when you sign up for this and log into MyStatLab, it'll look something like this. So when your screen on your sort of welcome screen, it probably looks a little bit like this. This is sort of the instructor's page, but I think even the student page looks reasonably similar. And there's all kinds of stuff here, and there's all kinds of stuff here, and oh my gosh, so there's so much stuff that there's very little that we're actually going to use here. So I'm going to show you the maybe two main things that we're actually going to use MyStatLab for. The first and most important thing is you're going to use this to do homework. So there's a link here for homework. I think the easiest thing is to maybe on the left here, which you have this as well. If you click on homework, this is the safest way to always know everything you need to know about the homework that you're actually required to do. So what you see here are 6 assignments. These are the only 6 assignments or 6 things that you actually have to complete that you'll receive any sort of credit for the course, are these 6 homework assignments. The due dates for the assignments are here. These are the same due dates that are listed in Canvas, so I'll at least just point you to that. Right, so the Chapter 1 homework, it says, is due January 4th. Chapter 2 homework is due January 7th, and so on. And those are the same dates that you see here, January 4th, January 7th, and so on. I made all the assignments due at, and I think the exams as well, everything just due at 11 p.m. just to kind of pick a constant time. That's Eastern Standard Time, I guess I should say, or Eastern Daylight Time, whatever we're in right now. So if you are in a different time zone, you do still need to follow these times accordingly. Oops, sorry. So here are the 6 homework assignments. Obviously, you're probably going to do them in order from top to bottom. And again, right, for most of the weeks, you're going to watch videos about these topics, and then after you're done with the videos, you click on the assignment that's associated, and you're hopefully able to do all or most of the problems on a first try. If you have some issues, you can go back and maybe rewatch some of the videos and get a little bit better sense of some of the problems and whatnot. So I just clicked on one of the random assignments. And if you click on one of them, there's a bunch of stuff here. It shows you your current score, which I haven't started yet, so I have 0 out of 13 problems completed. And then each of the questions is obviously sort of down here. And again, unless you're a weird person, you probably start at question 1, and keep going through. And as you get questions right, or even wrong, these will get sort of marked up to indicate that. So I'm just going to click on a random question You don't have to, I mean, again, you probably want to do them in order, but you can jump around, especially after you've completed all of them. So I'll just click on a random one like question 6, which I'm hoping has a numerical answer. Okay, so so when you're doing a question, so this little pop-up window happens, and the question's obviously here. Sometimes the question will have more than one part. I think this only has one part. Right, so obviously, read the question. My best advice, again, especially if you've never done an online course before, is, I mean, when you're doing homework or you're doing the exam questions, I mean, you're kind of nuts if you don't have paper sitting, right next to you and a pencil or a pen. And I mean, you don't have to copy the problem down, but you should at least be sort of saying to yourself, okay, this is some math problem. And then let me go on to paper and probably sort of try to maybe work some of it out before I'm, jumping in to type an answer in. I mean, some of the problems are sort of multiple choice or just sort of conceptual. So, okay, maybe those you can answer without a whole lot of work. But for any of the mathier ones where you're doing a computation or where Excel's doing a computation, you should probably at least have some things written down on paper. Um, and I would say that if you do run into problems with some of the questions, the best thing you can do for me is if you've tried a problem, try it again, try it maybe a few times. And if you're really still stuck on it, send me a picture of what you've done, right? So if you've tried a problem, even if you've only tried it once, or written down your attempt, just take a quick picture, with your phone and just attach it to an email and send it to me. And that really helps me to be able to give you some advice beyond just you sending me an email saying I'm stuck on number 7. I don't really know what I'm stuck on number 7 means, but it'd be better if you could say, here's what I tried for number 7. I don't really see what I'm doing wrong. I can probably much more easily and much more effectively give you advice. So I would say for sure, do whatever you are doing on paper to hopefully answer this question. And then once you feel like you're sort of have the answer that you want, then come back over here and type the answer in. For the most part, you can type everything just with the keyboard. You don't really need to use this stuff down here, which is just sort of fancier ways of entering math stuff. But we don't have anything too fancy to enter here. So you can mostly just go to the keyboard to answer the question. So I don't really know what the answer to this question is, but if I just make up an answer, I'll say, I don't know, 0.7. Then when you've entered whatever, or you've done whatever math you're going to do, if you come down here and hit check answer, it's going to, if it's right, it'll sort of say correct or something like that. But if it's wrong, like this one, it gives you some advice. It tries to sort of say, hey, maybe here's some things you could do. Again, sometimes this advice is useful, sometimes it actually isn't. The book and the homework problems are not necessarily linked to Excel. So in other words, we're going to answer, like, this is a question that I messed up, but we're going to know how to do this in Excel. So sometimes it's going to refer you to things like a z-score and a table. We're not doing that, right? So we're not doing this sort of the old-fashioned way. Here it says use technology, right, or a table, right? So we're going to choose the technology option with these. Anyway, so if I hit OK, notice, of course, it lets me try the problem again. So I tried 0.7 and that wasn't right. So maybe I'll just make up another number and say, maybe it's 0.75. So I can then try it again. Say check answer. Now, of course, this is still wrong, so I'm just guessing random numbers. So it gives me probably the same advice. So I say, okay. And then I maybe do something different to say, okay, now I got it. I'm going to do something totally different. And I ended up with 0.64. And then if I hit, now you see, now it says final check. So what this is going to do is it's going to check if this is right. If it's right, it gives me credit and I can move on. If it's wrong, which I think this is still wrong, it's going to tell me the answer. So let me hit it. Okay, so it's wrong. So my answer, or at least the last time I answered this, I tried this 0.64. Now it does tell you the correct answer. Now, of course, it doesn't give you lots and lots of detailed steps of how they came up with the right answer. But sometimes it's helpful to see the right answer. If your answer is very, very, very close, like if I had done 0.977 instead of 0.9772 and it marked that wrong, I could at least say at this point, well, okay, I obviously know how to do this problem. I just need to maybe, round less and things like that. But what should you do, if you don't finish, or if you get a problem wrong? You have two options. You can either go on to the next question and sort of come back to this. That's all right. Or you can ask for a similar question. And if you ask for a similar question, I'll hit that. And pretty much mostly what it does is it just sort of gives you the same question, but mostly just pretty much gives you different numbers in the problem and different numbers over here. So it essentially does let you retry the problem from scratch. And if you get it right now, it will, you do all the same stuff. You get guesses and all of that stuff. But if you get it right, it still gives you credit for it. So, and you can do that as many times as you want. And even if you go on to another question, right? So I'll let me say, I don't know how to do this, so I'm going to maybe skip this for now and come back to it. If you hit save, and I think even if you try to just close this, it'll sort of ask you, do you want to save? But maybe be in a good habit of just keep hitting this whenever you're sort of ready to be done with a problem. If you hit save, then if we come back to this sort of progress screen, I guess, or whatever we want to call this, notice it's put an X, a red X next to this question that we just tried to do, because obviously I got it wrong. Now I can still click on this, and I can still, even if it's the next day or something like that, as long as it's before the assignment is due, I can click on this and still say, oh, all right, what was this problem? And you can still request, oh, sorry, I had already requested the new problem. But even if you've exhausted another example and you quit, when you come back in, you can still, it's down here in the lower right corner where you can ask for a similar problem. And then again, it'll refresh and give you another chance to do that. You can do this as many times as you want. Now, the only caution I'll just say is that, it's nice to get sort of points for the homework and all of that, but the homework isn't really worth all that much. And so as you're doing problems, you do want to be sort of careful to actually be making sure you're learning from it, as opposed to just, let me maximize the number of points I can get. Because you could get 100% in the homework, and if you fail the exam, you're still going to fail the course. So that doesn't really help you all that much. So as you're doing the problems, do take advantage of the fact you can redo them. But, think, don't just be like, well, let me try this. Well, let me try this. Well, let me try this until I just randomly kind of stumble upon the right answer. Mostly because, again, obviously on the exams, you're only going to get one shot at each of these questions, and you're not going to know whether the answer is right or wrong until you submit your entire exam. So try not to overly rely on the extra chances, but do use it to, again, especially if you're struggling with a problem, go back to the videos, go back to the lectures, maybe rewatch portions of it, try to find some similar problems from the ones we would have done in class, and then maybe retry it again. And again, if you get fundamentally stuck after working on a problem for a long time, like I said, send me a quick picture of what you've done, and I can maybe give you some quick advice to help. Maybe at least just redeem myself ever so slightly. Maybe the first question is easy, or it just won't load. Oh, there we go. Okay, I think I know that one is one. So let me show you a more positive example of when you do homework. So answer the question, if I hit check answer, if you get it right, of course, it gives you sort of a green check and says, okay, you can go on to the next question. I guess I'll say that. Right, and again, when I'm done or want to sort of be done for right now, if I hit save, it will save my progress. And now, as you can see, I got this question right. So it gives me the 1 point for that. Right, and right now my grade is 1 out of 13. Obviously not very good. But right, and you can like I said, you can pop around here and redo questions sort of as much as you want up to the due date. So, okay, so that's the homework, which is one thing that obviously you're going to come in here for eventually. As you finish the assignments, your scores will also pop up over here. I will migrate your scores from my stat lab into Canvas, so eventually your Canvas, your grades from the homework will eventually appear in Canvas too. So don't freak out that it might say here, oh, my score is 100, hopefully, or something like that. It's okay. It's not going to say that in Canvas because I have to manually take these and move them over. So generally speaking, a day or two after each assignment is due, I will then migrate your scores over to Canvas. So there is no like submit. Sometimes students always ask, well, I did the problems, but I didn't submit them to you. There isn't really a submit. So as soon as you do anything, as soon as you get a problem right, and your score is marked here and your progress is marked on that screen that it's recorded. So I can see everything that you can see. So Don't worry about sort of sending in that you've completed an assignment. As long as you complete it in here, I will be able to see it. So, okay, so that's the homework. So you'll certainly click on that tab most of the time when you come in here. The only other thing I'll show you is the textbook. So, it's a little odd that they don't just say textbook over here. That would seem to make sense, but they've called it chapter contents. So, to get access to the ebook, if you click chapter contents, then as you might imagine, the chapters are all listed here for you. We do chapters 1 to 5, 6, and 9, I think, in this semester. So if I click chapter 1, for example, then of course there are sections as well. So if you click on any of the sections, there's actually, I think, only 3 sections in chapter 1, section 1, section 2, and section 3. But if you click on any one of the sections, then over here, this second option, this is what it says, multimedia e-text. That's the ebook. So I don't think it's actually going to work if I hit this, but when you click it, it should hopefully pull up on the screen here. Basically sort of like a PDF style text that you can scroll through, and read, just like a regular textbook. I think mine, well, when you click on this, it should hopefully actually launch the book. And like I said, the first chapter is the only chapter that I'm actually having you really read the book. So for the most part, you're probably going to, and it's just 3 sections. So you're going to come in here and read sections 1, 2, and 3. And then that's about it. So, but for the other chapters, if you do want more, all the other chapters that we're going to cover, I have videos for over here in Canvas. So for chapter 1, there's no video, or it's this video that you're watching right now, but that's obviously not material yet. So you're going to read for chapter 1. But for all the rest of the chapters, the video lectures that you see here, video lectures, that's sufficient. You don't really need to use the ebook beyond that. So, okay, but you will always come here to my stat lab to do homework. So, I come back to Canvas one last time. So I think that's about everything that you need to know to get started with the course. Like I said, there are due dates here in Canvas, and they're the same as the due dates over here in my stat lab. The first thing is due January 4th, which is the first homework assignment. And as you can kind of see, they do come sort of fast and furious. The first homework is due on the 4th. The next one's due 3 days later on the 7th. The next one's due 2 days later on the 9th. And the midterm, believe it or not, is on the 12th, which, is only like a week or so into the course. But again, we have this very short window of time, so everything is sort of coming fast and furious. I did try to give a little bit more time for Unit 4. This is the longest unit. I mean, there's probably more than 10 hours of videos that you have to watch. And then, of course, a long homework assignment to go with it. So again, try to maybe give yourself extra time. I mean, it's only 4 days from the last one, but do work ahead. The final exam is due on the 24th, which I think is a Thursday. So I will just say, right, I know I've said this a million times already now in this video, get started early. If it's January 3rd or January 4th and you're just starting this, I mean, I hope you have lots and lots and lots of time to dedicate to the course, because it's going to be a little tricky to finish everything you need without working on it every single day, and probably most weekends. We only have a few weekends, obviously, in the semester. You're going to really need to probably dedicate lots and lots and lots of your weekend as well to the material. So do check out the due dates. Like I said, there's something due every few days. If you do have travel or, life events that are going to impact your ability to sit down and do some of this stuff, just plan ahead, so if you're going away or you're going to be missing some of, and something is due on January 9th or whatever, or the midterm is due on January 12th. If you're going to be away and unable to do it, just do it ahead of time. So if you're missing, missing a whole week would probably be pretty rough, but do plan ahead. Again, I do have to sort of emphasize, there are never any extensions for anything, because the entire course is here for you right now. So if you know you've got some issues, or again, if you want to work ahead, which I really, really strongly advise you, a lot of people finish the whole first half of the course, so including the midterm, before the course begins. And that seems to be a good recipe because that way you can sort of spread the second half of the course out over our 3 weeks in January, sort of week 1, 2, 3. And that works out a little bit nicer. It gives you a little more breathing room and a little more time to digest. The second half of the course is definitely harder than the first half, as you might imagine. So do plan accordingly. So I think that's it. So good luck to you in the course. Like I said, if you have questions about material or in general, feel free to send me an email. I am traveling quite a bit during the break, but we should mostly have internet access the whole time and whatnot. So I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. But do please be patient with me. There are a lot of you and only one of me. So but I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. So good luck with the course, and like I said, let me know if there's anything I can do to help.